building is really, really cool no matter where it is, in my opinion.
If you had Frank Lloyd Wright design you a high-rise, this is what it would be. This would be a fantastic building in Times Square.
19 stories, 2,600 a floor. What a crazy building.
Welcome to this week's episode of Real Estate Anonymous. We've got a very unique deal that we're going to be previewing in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, which is a booming metropolis. What's really unique about this deal is it was the only office building that was designed by the iconic architect Frank Lloyd Wright, who is not afraid to tote a cane and wear a cool hat. And we're not exactly sure what to do with this deal, but what we can tell you is this could be some sort of adaptive reuse with the convergence of like an OnlyFans incubation studio, a gaming facility, or someone's private residence, or some combination of all the above. And what's really good about this episode is you're going to find out how responsible I am as a parent, where my 4-year-old son was using a box cutter at one point during this episode. So for as average of a real estate pro, I am a worse parent. You all will find. I hope you enjoy this week's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Real Estate Anonymous podcast. For dumb guys, by dumb guys. We are connecting, all three of us. I feel like it's been a bit. I was traveling. The great thing about the affordable housing business is you get to go to some truly remarkable parts of the country, like Tulsa and Detroit and Birmingham and St. Louis.
All the garbage spots.
Yeah, so I've been running around. I think I missed one or two of these, and then Brett did, and then I think Eric's always been dependable. But Elliot White, Brett Moss, Eric Weatherholtz, we are back. For those watching, oh shit, my camera's starting to fix itself. I apologize.
There we go. He's out of the shadows.
But most importantly today, we've got Brett Moss reporting from the eye of the hurricane down in Orlando. Is all the power off behind you? I see that in your office has lights on, but behind you is dark. Are you just the only guy working today?
Why don't you have a raincoat on and standing outside?
Yeah, well, you should. No,
I did. So it's funny you guys mentioned that. So it cracks me up. We're okay. I am the only one in the office today. We have power, and so since I'm an unapologetic American about a couple things. I like cold drinks. I like air conditioning. Those are two things that I really, really need. And so we stayed at a hotel next door to my office last night. It did get bad, in the middle of the night. So when the kids went to sleep, I did go downstairs with my rain jacket and had the fake microphone. And because what cracks me up is the meteorologists are standing as the eye of the hurricane is coming onto shore. And they're like, you wouldn't believe this. The conditions are really deteriorating right now. Well, no shit. You're standing in the middle of a hurricane. Like, what are we talking about here, Jim Cantori?
Surprisingly getting worse.
Shocker. What's the idea of going to a hotel? What's the purpose of that?
Well, the power is more reliable there. So I think literally, ADR, whatever the occupancy rate in hotels was like 100% in Orlando last night.
Why don't you have a backup generator at your house? This seems like a thing with all that broker cash you could afford.
We thought about doing that when we built our house, but we did not. And one of the many things that I'm not good at is being handy. So the downside of me screwing up a generator, not only for myself but my family, is not worth the risk to take.
Got it.
Is that fair?
Does seem like you could hire a guy for that, but what the hell do I know?
Elliot, I'm here today. We made it through the storm. All valid questions that we can cover in another episode.
I like that the two options.
Same argument about toilets too, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We considered that, however.
Yeah, we weren't. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
I'm glad you guys are all right. We've got some property in Florida. We've been checking on our staff. Our teams are, thankfully, everyone's happy, healthy, and only really minor issues at some of our properties. But it's been pretty interesting to watch, seeing it kind of roll through last night. So, Eric, what's new with you? You're in Atlanta. You guys get any of this weather? Is it just sort of overcast and rainy?
No, blue sky and sunshine. I've got my best pal, though, has a house on an island outside of Fort Myers, and he just raw dogs it, no insurance, and lets it rip. And every few months, he just chalks it up. He likes it so much there that the cost of doing business, in effect, rebuilding that house every 6 months, is in his mind worth it.
He's not alone in that, though. In all seriousness, Erica, there's a lot of people, even not on like the coastline, they're like, my house was built in the 40s. Like, it's too expensive to insure. Like, I'm just going to kind of self-insure the thing.
Yeah,
and like smart people. Like, I'm sure your buddy's a smart dude too, but like not like people that are like, oh man, like whatever, whoever will save me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like the Golden Gate Bridge is never not being painted. So there's a painting crew that does not leave the bridge. And that's kind of like the deal with his house with maintenance and repair. It's, nonstop construction forever.
Is that true about the Golden Gate Bridge? There's just always someone working on it, painting it?
Yeah. These are the kind of hot tips that you pick up on Real Estate Anonymous.
Well, our goal is not to make you the smartest real estate person. Our goal is to make you dangerous at a cocktail party.
Yeah.
And correct. If it's not true, it's kind of cool that it could be true.
I also can't prove the negative. Like, I believe you. That sounds okay. The sea air is corrosive, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'll give $1,000 to any listener who can prove that Eric's full of shit.
And then if you share it with enough people, it becomes its own truth.
Right. Not that that's going on. I'm letting that lie too. But say it quickly, confidently, and move on to the next time.
Kind of like rent escalations.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Isn't that the same theory that Marjorie Taylor Greene has about the government controls the weather?
Yeah, she.
You tell enough people start to go, maybe they do control the weather. Yeah. And the funniest thing about that whole theory that the government controls the weather or that Jews have space lasers is that, like, the idea that the government, I work with those people every day. I'm transacting with the government. I am waiting for them to send housing assistance payments. I am watching them like slowly figure out what one side of the department is doing over the other. There's no possible way on earth that the government is coordinated enough to work together to control the weather. There's not like one guy with a hurricane on-off button. I have to imagine it'd be a committee of folks who are like, all right, everyone turn your fans on at this speed at the same time. And it's the government, and there's just no chance that's actually happening. I'm not saying that
it would be kind of a rusted button at the corner of a metal desk anyway,
Right.
This is incredible.
Like an analog dial.
Right. There's just like a little clicker for like tornadoes in Oklahoma. Yep. Kids, and they kind of click the button. There's a few tornadoes. I love the idea, and I don't think
beneath the metal fan at the DMV.
Yeah. I don't think that the government is not controlling the weather because they care about us. I think they are literally too incompetent and too bureaucratic to control the weather, even if they had the tools to do so.
Well, so the one thing I did see this morning, I didn't do a lot of weather or news watching last night, is maybe the Pinellas County, the municipal government of Pinellas County somehow hit the button to rip the roof off of Tropicana Field because they wanted a new baseball stadium.
Yeah.
So there could be, I don't know, I'm going to look into this. I'll report back on my findings next week.
The thing looked like it was made of like paper mache and tin. I mean, it was like, who designed this thing?
Worst baseball stadium in the major leagues. So,
do you have insurance on your house
here in Orlando? Yeah.
No, Brett. The house in Aspen. Yes, they're in Orlando.
Well,
where you live?
That is a category.
Good point. I'm sorry. Give me ask me again, Eric. I
would like to have insurance, but
I would like a do-over. I would like a do-over on that question.
I'm not very financial, so we elected not to have insurance.
Yeah. No, it turns out that Regions that has our mortgage it does require me to buy insurance on the house. But yeah, I mean that's gone up. I mean, like I can. So just to kind of bring this back to real estate a little bit here. There's a couple distressed multifamily deals that are in the market that PGIM is selling at a discount, which I don't really understand, but they're way smarter than me. So what do I know? But it's gotten a lot of action since there's not been a lot of distress, and people are like, well, what's the cap rate? And I'm like, well, I first of all, I don't know what the cap rate is, but it's in this range. And most importantly for you, it doesn't matter what the cap rate is today with your insurance. Next time you buy your insurance policy, if the per unit insurance cost goes up $500, your cap rate is 25 basis points less than where you bought it. And, I thought that was a pretty telling conversation to have with a fair amount of groups that called this week that were like, wait, okay, walk me through this again. I'm like, yeah, you're not rent growthing your way out of another 30% increase in insurance. And I think you guys, yeah, but it's a problem. And I think with state of Florida's got a lot of great things going for it, a lot of people moving here, and but the water is real. And some of these low-lying areas, whether it's South Tampa or Southeast Florida, it is becoming too costly to live in a lot of, and this is a soapbox thing, so I'm sorry, but it's like too costly just from an insurance perspective. And again, from, capital partners that you guys are dealing with, a lot of them are kind of saying like, nah, we're not investing in Southeast Florida anymore because this is happening. And like the cost to do business there is too exorbitant. So we're good news about Orlando is we're like 150 feet above sea level. So we and I have been saying that in all seriousness, and like the amount of people in the last year are like, I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, Orlando Mountain.
About like the second home market, like there's insurance, but it's a.
Yeah.
Like imagine having to, getting your faucet fixed is plenty of hassle. Imagine doing a major rebuild on your house and with no contractors available.
Yeah.
Every couple of years, I got to believe at some point there are people that decide that Palm Springs might be a better alternative.
Yes.
Or Scottsdale.
Or Lake Oconee, right?
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like,
yeah.
So Boca Grande
damper on the second home market at some point. One would think
it does, and I think there's some folks that have been in St. Pete or Pinellas County for a while that have been trying to sell their houses for 2 years, and that storm that hit a couple weeks ago was like 100 miles offshore, and the videos and just the amount of damage and people's homes being totaled from that alone was wild to me. I didn't really get it, but like I think to Eric's point here, like some people are just going to say like it's too. I mean, I don't care how wealthy you are, like it's just not worth it to like deal with this every year.
Yeah. Well, this has been uplifting as usual. Yeah. Strong start for this one.
Yeah. So how about the Detroit Tigers? That's we got that going for us. I love the underdog. Yeah, go Tigers.
Well, before we get into our thing, the one last thing I want to talk about, because we haven't gotten together in a bit, is Mayor Eric Adams of New York getting paid off with like gold tea sets and Turkish airline flights. He has got to be the dumbest motherfucker. Because I put something on Twitter about this last night, but that there's basically two kinds of crime. And there's crime that you just should not do. And then there's crime where the right tail outcome is you own like a jet and a private island and you're gone. You know what I mean? Like you somehow put 500 million, you've gone full Sam Bankman-Fried and you like own an island. All right. But the rest of it, the run of the mill $10,000, $20,000 crime that politicians seem too stupid to figure out is like not really worth it. That stuff will catch you. And it's always funny to me when you see these guys get caught for the most asinine thing, like a gold tea set. Like, dude, what are you thinking? Why do you have 10 of them? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? You're going to melt it down and sell the gold? Or like, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's your counterparty.
But yeah, that brain surgeon, that needle dick idiot is controlling the weather. Right. I'm sure Eric Adams, with all his wisdom, has figured out how to send floods to New Jersey. Jesus Christ. All right. Should we, you ready to chop this up here? We'll get into this.
Charlie, okay, so this is my 4-year-old son who's hanging with me.
There we go. That's what
we got a special guest.
Special guest. So can you tell everybody what your name is?
Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. How are you?
He knows more about real estate than the three of us combined, and he's having Reese's Pieces for Reese's Peanut Butter Cups for breakfast.
I couldn't help but notice that he's eating Reese's Pieces and you're slamming back a Celsius. So your wife must ultimately be in charge of what people eat in order to survive, right? This can't be left to you.
She doesn't watch this, so she's not going to know about this. So that's
can okay. Charlie hear us, or only you can hear us?
Only Charlie here. Do you want to?
Charlie, what are your wiring instructions, just so people know?
Charlie, how's that Reese's Peanut Butter Cup taste?
Good.
Hey, Charlie, is your dad, is he good at real estate? You think so?
Oh, God.
You think he's pretty smart?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is he a good electrician?
Strong endorsements, bad electrician.
Bad electrician. All right, tell everybody what's up. Tell them go Tigers, or just go get back on your iPad with your brother. Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
Good. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate the Reese's fast break.
Today's special guest.
You don't get a body like this without eating a lot of these.
This is the kind of stuff you're not going to get on your run-of-the-mill podcast right here.
No.
No. That's just real life stuff.
All right, boys, we got an interesting one today. I think Eric was able to dig this one up, but we got an office tower. We're in Oklahoma. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
listener supported. This was sent in by one of our by a listener.
Long-time listener, first-time caller, that kind of situation.
I love it up.
Hey, how about that guy who was unhappy with us about our review of the hotel? And he was like, it's 28 rooms, not 15. Like, guy, the OM says 15. I don't know. I don't live there. What do you want from me? Like, thanks for chiming in. Okay. I'm glad you can make deals happen in Park City. Like, it wasn't a personally attack against you. We thought it was a great deal. I can't help the fact that the brokers got the wrong info.
Right.
Anyway.
I think we rang the bell on that, dude. What more do you want?
Yeah, we were
from us?
buyers, right?
Yeah, we're buying. Like, okay,
that's my favorite part about Twitter, and I guess just people in general, is you will say one thing that everyone sort of objectively agrees with, like, I don't know, flooding is bad. And then some guy chimes in with like, what if your house is on fire? And you're like, all right, man, I guess in that like very specific instance, thanks for chiming in. Like, I'm glad we figured out how to make this specifically about you and your situation.
Yeah. Chimers.
Chimers, not or bell ringers. All right. So I don't know if I know much about Bartlesville, Oklahoma.
Hey, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But this
before, Brett.
This place is super cool.
Do we have a deal for you? And in all honesty, this building is cool looking. Like, I mean, I know we talk about vibes a lot. This building is really, really cool no matter where it is, in my opinion. I'm not in the office business, but so just, I guess, preview this thing. 1956, built about 50,000 square feet on 2 acres, and then again, Oklahoma, Bartlesville, Oklahoma. But Frank Lloyd Wright, I think, is the big selling point here, which we've touched on him a little bit in the worst real estate deal ever, which is still one of my favorite episodes here at the Mall in Pennsylvania with Will. Yep. But obviously a big part of American culture and history. So
this is an interesting looking property. They've got on the website, they have a video. I don't know if this is fully vacant or not, but God, it's this weird mix of kind of like some Art Deco influence and then this great, 60s style office building. Aside from the fact that it's cool, I don't honestly know what you're going to do with it, but this feels like one where I'm going to punt to Eric because I know he's going to have some idea about how you redevelop this thing.
Well, Bartlesville, let's zoom out on the map, or let's pull up the map of Bartlesville, Oklahoma. I know it's north of Tulsa. It's kind of
Bartlesville. Sorry, I'm probably giving people. Okay, I mean, let me just pull up a different.
You can feel the Canadian wind coming down through here.
Right. And good news for everybody is Charlie has made a reappearance here, so he will be.
So we're an hour north of Tulsa?
Yeah, I'm looking for it now.
Is probably right. Yeah. So we look to be about an hour north of Tulsa.
Well, let's not get caught up with a bunch of facts. I mean, it's that classic. If you had Frank Lloyd Wright design you a high rise, this is what it would be. This would be a fantastic building in Times Square, but it happens to be in the middle of the Great American Prairie of the Central Plains.
Yeah,
Central Plains.
Why is this here?
That is
you know what I mean? Like, it's such a cool building. I don't know what was going on.
It's got to be at some point an overzealous oil magnate.
Oil guy for sure.
Yeah. And so it's this totally insane looking building. It's got to be one of the tallest buildings in Bartlesville. There's no density concern. It's not like you couldn't build this thing next door. So this is just a weird albatross that's standing out there. But goddamn.
This is the tallest building within 100 miles of this. I bet it's taller than most buildings in Tulsa.
It's an interesting one. So you've got, how many different floors is this, Brett? 19 stories.
19.
The typical floor is 2,600 square feet.
So this, okay, so can we just, again, I don't know, this is Eric's bailiwick for sure, but 2,600 square feet, depending on where the elevator core and what all it's smart. Charlie, hey buddy, can you just chill out. No box cutters for you on this step, so please.
He's coming for you.
I mean, the guy somehow got a box cutter, which is not safe for it.
He's from Florida. He's getting ready to stick someone for their gold chain.
He's standing behind you.
He is cracking me up.
Holding box cutters.
He was a surprise third kid, but you're quickly becoming my favorite. So the 2,600 square feet, in all honesty, that would be a great residential floor plan. I mean, if there weren't 17 people that lived in Bartlesville.
Dad, do you know where the baseball bat is?
Can you go find the brother? Yes. Where's the baseball bat? Oh, Charlie, for sure. Why don't I give you 2 baseball bats?
The baseball bat.
Yeah.
So what I like about this thing, you're absolutely right. It's got to be residential. You can't, that's such a small office space. I mean, maybe you could do 1 or 2 office condos, but you're really talking about a very established group that's only got a handful of people. They're not looking to grow. They're not going to take less space. They might take a floor. They talked about it as a museum, which seems odd to me.
I mean, this isn't meant to be anything. I mean, I don't know what kind of museum type stuff you'd have here other than like Native American.
Maybe
stuff.
A hotel. You cut it up into 4 units on a floor.
So let's see what is population.
And only 49,000 square feet.
Right. 19 stories, 2,600 a floor. What a crazy building.
Yeah, it's like a Manhattan super tall, except it's in
Bartlesville,
Oklahoma.
Do you think anyone said to the builder, why are you doing this here, Bob?
No, I honestly think I'd go back to, in all honesty, this was somebody that made a gajillion dollars in oil in the 50s and said, I want to do this pet project and I'm going to pay Frank Lloyd Wright whatever he wants to build this, like, his version of the Great Pyramid or whatever.
Based on the geometry of a 30, 60, 90-degree double parallelogram module. 1 quadrant for double height apartments and 3 quadrants for private offices. The first and second floors of the Price Tower were designed for retail.
So it was commissioned by Harold C. Price. Charlie, you got an opinion? Oh no, he's not weighing in. So this deal was commissioned by Harold Price of the H.C. Price Company, a local oil pipeline and chemical firm. So correct, it's a guy who made a pile of money in oil, and he built this thing. It's the only skyscraper that Frank Lloyd Wright ever developed, which is kind of interesting. And so this had to be a pet project. I don't think that the guy would have lived here. It seems unlikely that he would live here. Now it's called the Price Tower Art Center, which I think it's been sort of repurposed, maybe as kind of a standing museum or whatever. But it must have been at some point in time, he either thought he was going to put his company here or related companies here. I'm only speculating, but it's such an interesting thing to build up and what's ostensibly the middle of nowhere.
The green
These
patina
pictures are
copper, kind of like the Biltmore in Phoenix.
Yes.
Stacked 19 stories high.
Well, and I would say that I'm not aware of too many office buildings where you have an office building and then you have a model of the office building in the office building, which we have there in the bottom right corner.
The building was sold in 1981 to Phillips Petroleum.
Mm-hmm.
And then Phillips Petroleum, their attorneys determined that the exterior staircase was a safety risk, and they only used the building for storage.
It's good to be a billion dollar or multi-billion dollar conglomerate.
Yeah, and so they retained ownership until 2000, and then they basically donated it and made it an arts center, museum of art, architecture, and design.
The Right Picture is a sweet boardroom for anybody that does come into the office, for the 9% of America that still goes into the office.
What I think would be so interesting about touring a deal like this is you wonder, like that picture on the bottom right, that's a kitchen. That's clearly like someone slammed a kitchen in there. That Frank Lloyd Wright didn't design that space. But you walk around, and I would love to see even just some of the interior detail that was original. and I've only seen Falling Water, so I haven't
What's
seen
the floor
all
plan?
of
You want
Wright's
to see the
things.
floor plans?
But the interesting way that he uses space and creates storage, and I think that would be a ton of fun to see. All of this, of course, does not. I mean, I don't think it's worth more than. I don't even know that it's worth $1. I don't think you can afford to carry this thing. I think it has to be owned by a nonprofit and be tax exempt. It's a museum. People pay some nominal amount to come in and see it, and then those funds, along with maybe some city funds, help kind of support it and preserve it. Is this being offered for sale? Is this on the market?
It's on LoopNet, so I think it's one of those auction deals, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
So maybe we could. I mean, I think I do have enough money to buy this if it's like $8. And so if we went,
I think it's obvious what you do is this is a home for turn it into a single family home for an industrialist, kind of a Tony Stark Industries.
Or the guys that own the Oklahoma City Thunder. Everybody that owns a sports franchise at this point is a multi-billionaire. So like, I forget if it was the Chesapeake Energy guy or if maybe he had some trouble.
Let's reframe it. If you were an industrialist and this were available for sale, you could make it your own home, Brett. Is this enough to have you leave Florida?
I would say that we could maybe buy this building for less than insurance premiums will be on a lot of office buildings on the coast of Florida next year. So I think this would.
Can we get Charlie to weigh in? I mean, would Charlie hang here?
So
he's probably found another weapon or is assaulting his brother with one of those 2 baseball bats, if not both, right now. So he is the terrorist of the family for sure.
This building is registered on it's a National Historic Landmark. It was originally submitted with a package of other Frank Lloyd Wright buildings as like a portfolio to be designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Wow.
UNESCO rejected it and determined that the Price Tower was too weird to be included. So that got removed. And then the rest of Frank Lloyd Wright's work has been accepted and designated a World Heritage Site. So
now
even they found this too objectionable. And so
Let's say it was free.
Well, it was sold in $10. It was sold in 2023 for $10 to Copper Tree Incorporated, who plan to restore the building. And then in August of this year, facing more than $2 million in debt and losses related to the building, they started selling off the tower's furniture without permission from the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. So, anyhow, yeah.
That sounds like a pretty major foot fault, I would say. A fantastic hot mess. Well, what do you think it would cost to? So let's just say that. Do we know the tax bill yet?
I don't think. Let me see if there's any financials on here. I know that's
wow.
We have
the total assessed value is $6.5 million today, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but if it just sold for $10 in 2023, assessing it at 6.5 seems like a fundamental disconnect between what people are going to pay and what the assessor. Like, you should see, if I own this building, I would call the assessor and say, I'm going to give you the deal of the year. You have this thing assessed at $6.5 million. I'll sell it to you for $2 million.
So let's say it was free. 19 full floor apartments of 2,000 square feet. You spend $100 a square foot to do that because the plumbing and everything's there. What could you do with apartments in Bartlesville, Oklahoma?
I mean, you would think you could easily, rent these for $1,500 a month, right? I mean,
we're talking about a full floor unit for $1,500, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
I mean,
because I think the way it's currently cut up, it looks to be like it's already cut up into 4 units.
Well, here we go. I'm going to do this, guys. It's kind of like a build for rent deal. It's a vertical, but it's not. It's a build for rent deal. 4-bedroom.
If you call a vertical build for rent, I swear to God, Brett, I'm going to fly down to Orlando.
We've just created a new term because we have horizontal multifamily, which is just
Joe. Anything with walls, and he says build to rent.
Yeah, I think this could be a build for rent play in Bartlesville, and there's a lot of locations that we've worked on deals that are maybe inferior to Bartlesville, but you'd have to be able to rent these apartments. So let's just say $750 a month times 4 per floor. Elliot, I'm not crazy by saying that of the 40,000 people in Bartlesville, you'd have to find, you'd have to find what, 40 of them?
What are we talking here? You're thinking there's going to
We
be
got to find 19 of them.
4 units per floor?
Yeah, let's just, I mean, on let's
Is
just
that
say
rent
it's
for
4 per floor.
750?
Yeah.
Hold on, we got math incoming.
Watch out. You need me to get Charlie in here for that?
We're going to say that the first floor is amenities, so you got 18 floors of rental income.
He's got the 10 key out.
Uh-oh. Well, going back to one of the first, maybe the very first podcast, Eric, I still get mileage out of your Coke can valuation deal for the Phoenix Hotel. I still think that was one of my better learning experiences.
I think I have disappointing news for you.
Oh no!
You're looking at about $650,000 in rental income per year, and I'm going to guess that a high rise or a mid rise, whatever you want to call this, is probably going to cost in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, maybe $6,000 a unit to maintain.
So unfortunately, I think we're looking at
dollars on this.
Well, but then we're getting into the whole, Elliot. So this is your bailiwick of like tax credit, government subsidy, hairy multifamily.
Right, but then your rents are going to be less than $650. So you got $216,000 in NOI if you're fully occupied. Let's call it $200K. You get $200K in NOI, and what are we going to call the cap rate out here? Maybe a 7?
Sure, I think that's a good number.
So your building's worth 2.8. And Eric, what's your construction cost? You said 100 a foot.
Well, let's just say that for sport.
For round numbers, easy math. Right. No asbestos probably to worry about in this building at all.
Right. So what you have managed to do through clever negotiating is you've gotten this building for the same $10 that the other people bought it for. You have invested $4.9 million in hard cost and turned that into a value of $2.8.
It doesn't seem like there's a lot of financial incentive to do that.
I don't quite think we get there.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, you could try and convert it to affordable housing. I don't know that the Conservancy would let that happen, but you could try and do a low-income housing tax credit transaction here and restrict the rents. But
okay, how about this? One last shot. It becomes a can you charge admission for all the throngs of tourists that are headed to Bartlesville and charge admission to go up and down through the tower?
I would normally laugh at that suggestion, but I drove like 7 hours out of my way to go to Falling Water to see that house. You're in nowhere, Pennsylvania. It's not near anything. And it was jammed. I mean, totally jammed. I don't know that this is going to have the same draw as Falling Water, but I wouldn't be surprised if.
What did you pay to get in? Do you remember?
I think it was like $40 person.
Okay.
I could look that up, but the challenge here is that these guys are saying the building's unsafe. I assume there's an elevator in here, and so you get the elevator fixed up. Could you do tours? Could you? I don't see quite how it works as residential. This just feels like a passion project that a guy built. Clearly, you can see him in this photo with his hat and his cane pointing at this thing going.
Well, that's Frank Lloyd Wright.
Is that Frank Lloyd Wright? I thought that would be H.
That's the Price.
I thought that would be Price.
Let's Google a picture of Frank Lloyd Wright, but I agree with Eric.
What if we got Brett a cane and a hat? That would be the way to sell build to rents. As you take people to do site tours, and you can have one hand in a pocket and a cane and sort of point out the features.
That's I think we are onto something here. That is Frank Lloyd Wright, and we'll do a little bit different screen sharing operation here. But I am feeling good about this for the time being.
You can't turn it into office. That's not going to work. Maybe a museum. Resi seems like a stretch.
So that's him, right? I mean, that's the guy in the picture. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got that going for us, which is nice. And so you're north of Tulsa. I mean, there's something to be done here. And I would say, and in all honesty, like some of these certified rich people, which we've talked about before with the Park City deal, I mean, you have private planes and you kind of just want to get lost, right? So there's probably, I would bet every little town in America has some sort of airstrip. This would seem like a place if you were like a reclusive, certified rich guy. Like, I mean, nobody's going to bother you in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. What if it was just a single family residence and it was like the top 8 floors were residential and you
And then the bottom floors was just like, you wanted to do, one floor is like an arcade room. The next one just has like a trampoline for a floor. Another one has a bunch of targets that you shoot at and you soundproof. Like one of them's a bar, one of them's a strip club. Couldn't you just sort of say, I'm going to fill this with all the things that I like to do?
Yeah,
Eric, you should buy this, man. This would be a good setup for you.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Okay. How about we're in? What about a casino?
Yeah, that's where you beat me to it. When in doubt, make it a casino, especially with a lot of Native American land around. This is like on the Trail of Tears. Good news. Good news. We got Charlie Moss making another appearance here soon.
Wow. A casino. God damn, that's inspired.
Price Towers and casino.
I think the challenge will be
hotel rooms
convincing.
above. Okay, we got another interloper, Brett.
Yeah, this is my older son William, who's
What's up, William?
Motor City, and I was about to bring this up too. So William and I are on a quest to go to every Major League Baseball stadium before he goes to college or loses interest in me, which is probably going to lose interest in me. And so we did go to Detroit a couple weekends ago, and I walked by that building that we did the podcast about there, which had the 2,000 square foot shower.
Was it cool looking?
It was cool. Downtown Detroit is amazing. It was way cooler than I thought. Let me see if we can. All right. So anyway, but I think
you get the gaming license, I'm in.
Yeah, I think right. I suppose that solves all your problems. You just have to get it probably off the National Historic Register, and you have to get the Frank Lloyd Wright Conservancy to be okay with you turning this into a casino.
Well, and so okay, they're going to say, "Oh, cool story, guys." No, but the alternative here is to let this go into disrepair and fall down eventually. So again, I don't think dealing with even your neighborhood historic, preservation society is like talking to probably trying to convince Charlie that a certain deal makes sense. But I mean, the actually. Charlie would give you the business on that. Seriously, in all honesty, the alternative is, and the good news is that the auction is open right now. It opened October 7th, so we could still get
it's going to need big money for a renovation because these older buildings, all the plumbing stacks probably have to go. I don't know what shape the wiring is in, but the plumbing, you've got either cast iron or galvanized. And I think it's a pretty hardy number just to get this thing serviceable for maybe the next 20 or 30 years. I think that's a very big dollar amount.
Exterior windows, curtain walls, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a house of cards.
Yeah.
So even with a gaming license, I don't think there's the only thing this makes sense for is for the next generation of oil and gas industrialists to make it their own office. And
I have it. I figured it out. I know the answer.
The light bulb just went off. And
I know how you make money here. You turn it into one of those dystopian OnlyFans studios where you just have every floor is 9 or 10 stalls or whatever they call them. Those booths. I've seen these photos of these warehouses, and it's just people and cameras in their little square areas. You just make this OnlyFans creators. That's it. 19 floors of it. I don't know what you charge, but you probably sublease it to a company that runs that kind of thing. That's the only way you're getting out.
It's kind of an Oklahoma business development, economic development.
Yep.
I think you heard it here first.
Yeah.
We heard it here first. And then aren't these data centers, which seem to be the number one sought after investment in real estate, aren't they putting these in the most weird situations, which then again requires a lot of MEP, which I barely know what that means. But
I guess the thing that we really don't want to talk about is if you were going to spend any of this money to do anything to this building to make it a use, the use has to be someone who's interested in preserving this specific building.
Right.
Because if you're doing an OnlyFans studio, or if you're doing industrial, or you're doing office or resi, there's no shortage of land. It's cheaper to just build it from the ground up. So the only person who's going to do this has a very specific interest in Frank Lloyd Wright and this building. That's the only way that something here makes sense.
And an industrialist. Okay, so there you have it.
Okay.
Friend of the show, Lee Ginky, thank you for sending this one in.
Oh,
and you have
Lee.
your answer.
Yeah, I will say if people want to send in more deals, send them in. Happy to take a look at them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Lee,
Even
if we
the
can get
gentleman
this,
in Park City who did not like our review of the hotel, man, send us something. We'll take a look.
hey, you bring a deal for us, buddy, and we'll promise you we'll get the facts more straight on that one. We'll let you do the pre-show audit, which these
we could. Honest God, I'd be happy to bring him on. We could start inviting listeners to come on and pitch their deal.
Yes,
that could be a fun format. You bring a deal, and we'll tell you whether we think it makes sense or not.
Yeah, and just I forget who was it who helped us with the distress one that was that Kevin, the distressed debt
Kyle
one.
Yeah,
Kyle, excuse me.
Yeah.
We got to make sure Kyle or somebody who's not like a tough negotiators. Yeah, just got to make sure we put we'll be nice to you listeners.
Yeah, you bring a deal. It'll be like Shark Tank, except we won't give you any money. It'll just be, you just show up. We'll give you a hard time, and then that's the episode. Perfect.
Yeah,
Great new format.
I might give you one of my fish posters that I've scored somewhere along the way, but I probably wouldn't even part ways with that. But we will be glad to host a show.
This is great. I think we can wrap it here. Stay tuned for next week when we'll be mean to a complete stranger about some deal that they brought in. This is the new format is three dumb guys abusing randoms.
Well, and then you get turned over to Kyle for special servicing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Fantastic.
Thanks, everyone.